Hey everybody, how's it going? So about, right about 24 years ago, 25 years ago, we bought our first boat. And man, we really enjoyed that boat. It was a little 19-foot Rhinell, open bow. And boy, we just took that thing all over the place in the Columbia River and Willamette Rivers. And it was great fun. And we decided that we wanted to get a tower for our boat, and me being me and us being in the middle of the bigger, better, faster, more, keeping up with the Joneses, spend our money as fast as we could possibly make it, decided that the perfect tower that we liked was already attached to another boat. So yeah, we traded our cool little 19-foot open bow Rhinell in for a 20-foot Rhinell open bow. We had a special tower put on it so that we could pull it into our garage. And the thing about buying boats, it's not like buying an RV or a car or a truck or something like that. You generally can't take a boat for a spin to try it out and see if you like it before you buy it. That's after you sign on the dotted line. And for us, that's exactly what happened. And so we bought this boat. And from the moment I took it out for the very first spin after we signed the paperwork, I hated it. I hated that boat. And the reason I hated that boat was because it didn't plane very well. It didn't matter where the outdrive was at. That boat just did not plane very well. But we bought it. Not a whole heck of a lot we could do about it at the time. So we just used it as much as we could. And we took it water skiing, wakeboarding, inner tubing, everything. And we had as much fun in that boat as we possibly could. And so one day we were down on the Willamette River. We parked down at the Boone and Crockett boat ramp, just off of I-5, just south of Wilsonville. Wowzers. I was totally unfamiliar with the water. I had no idea what was where, what safety issues were around, and what things to look for. And so we hopped in that boat and we took off. And we went downriver towards Canby, Oregon City. And it was a warm summer day. And there were all sorts of boats out on the water. And there were people that were just weaving in and out of boats, towing people. And I was just like, oh my God, this is insane. This is totally insane. I was Mr. Safety, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And so I stayed off to the starboard side, the right side of the river, going downriver. And there weren't really any markers indicating that there were any hazards. And so we had Kaylin and a friend of his. I don't remember her name off the top of my head, but they were in the inner tube, and one of them fell off. So I stopped the boat and came back around and pulled up so that they could get back in the inner tube. And Kaylin goes, "Hey, Dad, look at this!" And he stands up in the water, and he is about waist deep. Now, mind you, Kaylin was probably about 8 or 9 years old at the time. And I was like, oh crap, we got to get out of here. So we get them back in their inner tube, and I start heading off towards the channel of the river. And I'm doing about, I don't know, 15, 20 miles an hour, and all of a sudden, bam, bam! Man, something rocked the boat. And I knew whatever it was not good. So I stopped the motor, and I pulled Kaylin and his friend in, and I did the next thing I did still shakes me to this day. I opened up the engine cover, and we're taking on water. We had a problem. Well, about a week prior to this accident, I bought two things that Sue relentlessly made fun of me about. Relentlessly. The first one was an air horn. And Kaylin grabs that air horn and he just starts, wah, 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 wah. I'm like, dude, no. There's a way you're supposed to do this. And he's kind of freaking out, understandably so. He's like 8 years old, and we're sinking, and he's freaking out. Well, the other thing I bought was a UHF Marine radio. And I walked over to the glove box, and I opened up the glove box, and I pulled that radio out, and I looked at Sue as I turned that radio on with a smug look on my face of, this is why I bought this radio. And I turned it to channel 16, and I started calling for help. And my best friend at the time, John, I don't know why I get emotional about this, but John was on his boat. He was on a 25-foot bayliner, and he was out on the Columbia, and I started calling for assistance, and he knew it was me. He could hear me. Couldn't do anything about it. John taught me everything I know about water safety. And he's like, all right, you're doing it right. You're doing it right. I told people exactly where we were. Exactly. I beached the boat as hard as I possibly could up against a sandy bar. The motor was still running just fine. So I beached the boat. I got everybody off the boat. People are saying to me, where are you? And I said, I am downriver 1 mile from the Canby Ferry. I am downriver 5 miles from the Boone and Crockett I-5 bridge. Downriver. I said that multiple times. And we were beached for about 20-25 minutes, and nobody is coming to help. Finally, a guy who lived across the river came over on his jet ski and pulled up and said, "Are you guys all right?" And I said, "No, we've basically sank our boat." And he goes, "Oh man," he goes, every weekend something happens here." He says they call this the rock garden for a reason. He said there are rocks that are literally just 8 to 10 inches under the water here, and every weekend we are rescuing somebody. And he said, do you have help coming? And I said, well, yeah, I've sent out radio distress calls multiple times. He said, okay. He said, I'll keep an eye on you, and if no help comes, I'll come help you. About 5 minutes later, a Multnomah County Sheriff's boat goes flying down, and I took out the horn and started honking that horn. And he whipped a Huey and came back, and he said, "Are you the one that's been calling for help?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "People are looking for you 5 miles upriver from the Boone and Crockett Bridge." I said, No, I've been specifically been saying downriver." And he said, "Yeah." He said, "We heard you." He said, "We came. We've been hightailing it from Oregon City. That's why it took us so long to get here." And he said, "Is anybody injured?" I said, "Nope, nobody's hurt. I've beached the boat. I actually took one of the water skiing ropes, and I tied it off to a tree, and I tied that off to the tower on the boat. And hoping that the weight of the water in the boat didn't just drag it downstream. The funny thing about this, the whole time the bilge pump was still pumping. Go figure. And so the cop, he says, "Well, all right." He says, "Let's start loading your stuff up on my boat, and we'll take you and everybody downriver to the boat ramp, and we'll get somebody down to the parking lot so you can pick up your trailer." And so Sue took Kaylin and Therese and Kaylin's friend, hopped on the sheriff's boat and went down to Canby Ferry. Actually, there's a boat ramp just past Canby Ferry. Got them down there, got them a ride down to Boone and Crockett boat ramp, and Sue tried backing the boat out with the trailer. She couldn't. She'd never done it before, and she was sitting there crying, lost, not sure what to do. And this biker dude pulls up, sees her sitting in the truck, halfway pulled out. And he's like, "Miss, are you all right?" She burst into tears. She says, no, we sank our boat. And I need to go down and pick up my family. He says, let me help you. And so he hopped in the truck and he backed the trailer out. And then he led Sue down to the boat ramp. I can't for the life of me remember the name of the boat ramp, but it's right down there by Canby Ferry. And he stayed with us until everything was off of the boat, everything was loaded up in the truck, and Sue took the boat and the trailer home and pulled up in front of the boat and trailer. And I stayed there until Boat US showed up with their rescue boat. And I take that back. I don't remember how Sue and the kids got home. I actually stayed there with the boat and trailer till Boat US showed up. They went down and they floated the boat. They towed the boat back to the boat ramp. And by this time it's like 11 o'clock at night. And they got the boat up on the trailer for me, got it drained, so I took the boat home. One thing that of interest that I remember quite clearly is as the sheriff's boat pulled up, there was a silver can floating around inside the hull of the boat, my boat. And he says, "Is that a beer can?" I go, "No, sir, I don't drink." I said, that's a Diet Coke can." He says, "Let me see it." So I grabbed it and I pulled it up. He says, "All right, good." He says, "Man, had that been a beer can, we'd be talking a whole different story now. Insurance wouldn't have covered the accident. They wouldn't have covered the towing. They wouldn't have replaced the boat. They wouldn't have done anything had that been a beer can." Something to think about. Boat US covered everything. Absolutely everything. They were fantastic work. Man, I learned a lesson that day. The next thing I did was I went out and I bought a book of the Oregon waterways, Northwest waterways, where we might be taking our boat, so that I could learn where all the hazards were in the Oregon waterways. And yeah, I get emotional about it. It's kind of funny that here it is 24, 25 years later, 23, whatever, and I'm emotional about it. But, you know, it was scary. It was really scary. And I've never been back to that stretch of river since. I've had 5 boats since then. I've never been back. Yeah. Take care of your family. Learn your waterways. Know where you're going. Know what you're doing. Know your boater safety. Have the proper safety equipment with you. Of course, life jackets, whistle and ropes and all that stuff. Boat horn and a radio. Those 2 things saved my bacon that day. And I got to be smug with my wife. A little bit long one today. I apologize. Have yourselves a great day, everybody. We'll catch you later. Until then, cheers, y'all.